Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Hey, so welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday and this is going out on Mintwave radio station. You can simply ask Alexa or go to the website /Mintwave-radio and listen in live. So you can see this rest of the schedule actually for the rest of the week. If it's via podcast, you can download the app from the same website for Apple and Android. Check out the other podcasts. Feel free to follow any, subscribe to any that take your fancy. Now, today's episode is 152. And today we have Andy Way, who is an author, a speaker, and a coach. And we're going to be talking about redefining our relationship to adventure. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and we really are here to provide a platform for coaches, therapists to get their message heard to the people who need to hear it. Now, Andy grew up on a small island in the low country of Savannah, Georgia. Having fallen in love with the ocean, he went on to live on a sailboat. He also served 4 years in the US Navy, where he spent 8 months a year at sea, out by Japan, launching planes off the flight deck of a carrier. After his time in the service, he became a real estate investor for 12 years and a franchise owner. His greatest passion, though, has always been being a father for his one and only child, Drew. Now, unfortunately, though, Andy's toughest battle came when Drew started to struggle. So, welcome to the show, Andy.
Hey, thanks for the great introduction. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Wow, where do we start? So, you've lived a very interesting life. So, what drew you to the ocean?
I think that seed was originally planted by my father. I grew up on, like you said, a small island, about 2,000 people down in Savannah, Georgia. And that's the map of it behind me there. And it's the Intercoastal Waterway. And for whatever reason, my dad got me a boat for a birthday present when I was 13, a little runabout. And I was the oldest male in the family, and I wound up spending the vast majority of my extra time when I wasn't in school or practice out in that boat. And that took place for about 6 years. And it really planted the seed for my love for all things the ocean and adventure.
Awesome. And so you joined the Navy. So you've traveled around a lot. Do you think that's linked to your sort of spark for adventure?
I would have to say the seed was originally planted when I was a boy, but I was always really curious about the world around me. And I remember having stacks and stacks of the National Geographic magazines and was curious about the world. And I accidentally graduated third in my class from my Navy, my school in the Navy. And I got to choose where I was going. So I was the third person to choose. And so I chose Japan. And that was definitely a really different world than anything I had ever experienced. And I just really fell in love with different cultures and so forth.
Awesome. And so if you could share a little bit more about your story then. So we've given a brief overview there and what this links to your son, Drew.
Yeah. When he was 12, I found myself, I would have never thought this or anticipated it, but I found myself at the beginning of a 6-year-long battle to save his life. And was really struggling with pretty severe anxiety and depression and drug and alcohol abuse ultimately. And that experience, being such a passionate father and having read all of the books from the time he was born to that time and now still heavily immersed in the conversation of fatherhood and parenting and culture, to watch him struggle like he that's a kind word to use. Struggle, it's an understatement, but it crushed me. And so next thing I knew, though, I was watching a video, and that was a really dark night of the soul. I was a shell of a man, to say the least, at times unable to even leave the house. And then I caught this video on YouTube, and it was these guys riding motorcycles in the backcountry of Colorado. And it lit something in me, that boyish sense of adventure, reconnected. A month later, I bought my first adventure motorcycle and began to ride, and really started to unpack what that experience was in my response to that video on YouTube that night.
So the link there then with this is why you're so passionate about adventure. Do you think this has got something to do with then, and mental health is a massive issue, and it does seem to be for the younger generation seem to be struggling maybe more so than our generation. And I don't know why, but do you think things have changed in relation to, like you had with your upbringing? You were doing things, you were having adventures by yourself, really, weren't you? You were out on your boat, on your dad's boat or your boat. And so you were being active. Whereas things have changed, haven't they? And more these days, the children tend to be in more. I was never at home. We were out playing on bikes, climbing trees, doing God knows what. So I don't think we had that time by ourselves too much, overthinking and getting caught up in stories. Whereas this seems to be part of the problem, do you think? I'm not an expert. I'm not a
Yeah,
therapist in that way. It's such a complex thing. But do you
right.
think that's got something to do with it?
Sure, I do. I could absolutely get on board with that that line of thinking. There's no doubt that for parents and young adults alike and teens alike, it's really critical to get out of our heads and into our bodies and into our heart. And sometimes I was watching a show on Netflix called F1 Drive to Survive. And as it turns out, the all-time winningest F1 driver in history is today Lewis Hamilton. And his performance coach, before a big Grand Prix, she takes him and they go skydiving or something. Like she gets him out of his head before the race so that I call it building capacity. And that's what riding a motorcycle was like for me today. I plan on doing it when we get off this recording, right? This show, because I've been doing a lot. When I go ride, I have to focus. I can't be in my head worrying or making up stories or embellishing right? And it clears my mind, builds capacity, and it frees me up to really come back fresh and ready to take on the challenges of the day. And you're right, a lot of people are not exercising that level of action and engagement.
Yeah, it does make total sense. I'm going to admit I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie myself. And some might say that I was going through a midlife crisis when I decided to I've only got a little motorbike. I've got to take my test. But I agree. And it seems to be like what you said there about you have to focus. So again, we haven't got time, and it must be linked to when you were a child and going out and being busy and doing this stuff. We just don't have the time to sit. Kids weren't indoors, whereas now they're on games and they're doing it's too much alone time, not enough distraction, and the mind is taking over. Whereas, yeah, if you're going to do something a bit that's exciting, yeah, you're focusing on the thing. You're not in your head. You're just being, and funnily enough, it makes you happy.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about when I think about striking a balance, I think there's a crossover point where, look, playing a video game, fine. But there's a point to which you're no longer just tuning out the world and playing a video game. You're actually escaping something else. And so there's a point where you begin to abuse that opportunity and it becomes unhealthy. And I think that's a key thing to remember. Yes, we all know kids play video games. There was Nintendo when I was growing up, and some guys were playing Tetris way too long. They're way too good at Mario Brothers 4 or whatever it is. You shouldn't be that good.
Right? Yeah, because it takes practice, just like anything else, right?
That's right. That's right. And you begin to cross over where you're actually escaping yourself and the world around you in an unhealthy way at some point during that kind of duration. And I'm sure that neuroscientists have probably that time figured out how long before you're actually escaping and it's becoming unhealthy.
And then it just becomes a habit. And this is the thing. I suppose they don't see a way out because they've just got caught in a little bit of a cycle.
For sure.
And for them, it seems like there's no, that it's just this, change something. And you're going to be, when it's your kids, and my eldest has struggled. And it's heartbreaking because I couldn't understand why. What is it? But I think life is so very different. And the busier you are, the more things you've got going on. And like you say, having the balance of downtime. You can't all be just go.
Sure.
Is where that balance is, but so many don't. So what was this the trigger that got you to move on into being a coach?
And I'm predominantly, I do coach, but predominantly I'm focused on a one-to-many approach to getting my message out there. I spent 5 years working on unpacking that original experience to that one video. And really my relationship to adventure. What is this? And why does it matter? And who should care? And ultimately what I found were these 5 powerful practices that have 5 specific outcomes. And so, spreading that message out into the world is my mission. Reaching more, speaking just helps me do that, reach more people. So that's what I'm focused on. But it is that experience that led me to discovering these 5 powerful practices and why they're important. Sure.
So would you like to share with the audience a little bit about what these are? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, what I started with, what's so funny to me still today is that I started with just Google searching the word adventure. What is that? And in its simplest form, an adventure is getting uncomfortable, exploring the unknown, and often with an element of risk. Now, it doesn't have to be risky. So I cut that out. I think that you don't have to say it all the time. You don't have to sail around the world or climb Mount Everest to have an adventure. Because every single day is the unknown. We do not know what's going to happen. I relate to, we all have an idea, right? We hope to wake up, but it's not all figured out. And there are these beautiful gifts available every single day. And so I think that the first thing I found was the value of getting uncomfortable. And I started to practice that and explore it. And then I started to really explore the unknown and get an exercise, an active level of curiosity. And the last part of the first 3 was seeking excitement. And that was really, it helped me to understand the importance through practice of being purposeful about doing something fun, doing something that makes you laugh, doing something that makes you happy or stirs your soul a little bit. We can seek excitement. We can expect excitement when we're doing the other practices, but it's also important to be intentional about, seeking excitement, doing something fun for ourselves. It helps us to live a happier life. And it really energizes us. So those are the 3 in short. But
isn't it strange that you mentioned you've got to get out your comfort zone? It's such a bizarre thing to think that it feels comfortable, but it's so bad for us. But somehow we've become conditioned to, like you say, this is why I think people struggle with addictions of any kind. It could be, we could be talking about anything here, but I do think it's an escape. They're trying to escape the mundane day to day, which then you could switch that up by doing, like you say, doing something that is unknown. And it's funny, isn't it? The last few years, I think, or I hope, that people have come to that conclusion that it was a myth anyway. It was a complete myth that we know how things are going to, because no, we never did. That was just an illusion, a story that we told ourselves, because you have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow. Yes. But isn't it funny that we just somehow, we've been conditioned to almost resist that as though it's a bad thing. And like you say, the unknown, that's living, isn't it? That's when you do feel alive.
Yeah, 100%. I have at least three immediate thoughts at the top of my mind. Yeah, I've got to talk. I have a meeting to do a TED talk in Switzerland, Verbier, Switzerland, where one of the main theme will be the conditioning gap. And that's the difference between our existing conditioned behaviors and the new behaviors that we actually really gives us the results and the experience of life we really would choose or would rather have be experiencing. And there's a gap in our conditioning. Right. And it's important to understand how our brain works. There's a difference between my brain's thoughts and my thoughts. Okay. So, and too often our brain's job is to keep us safe and alive. The brain's job is not to help us thrive and as a default mechanism. That's the number one priority of the brain. And we just get, and it's easy to stay comfortable, but we miss out on so much when we choose to just be comfortable. There's so much more
Yeah.
of life available, even right where you are every day. Right? It doesn't, again, you don't have to sail solo around the world or climb Mount Everest to have an amazing experience. I can count
Right.
on insights showing up every single day.
Yeah, we just get complacent, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. But it
Well,
is,
that goes into
it's
the brain.
yeah, yeah. And that is, it's, I suppose it is the understanding that that isn't you. We take ownership of it. And when you understand that you are not your thoughts either, you're not your
Right,
thoughts,
exactly.
and it's giving you false information, or that it tries to make itself, because it likes to be right,
Yeah,
as we all like to be right,
sure.
but it's not for our benefit, is it? It's,
It keeps us
you know,
alive at the best.
yeah,
That's it.
nobody wants to do Groundhog Day. And again, I'm sure that's something that's probably come out of the madness of the previous years, of realize that, man, yeah, we need, as human beings, we need this. We need a bit of excitement. We need a bit of variety. Some people, maybe that is one of their top priority human needs, for a bit of stability, but I think they've got a little bit caught too
Yeah,
much there. But having some kind of, like you say, it doesn't have to be riding a motorbike, although I want to do it,
right.
Andy. I'm jealous that you're going out
I hope to.
later.
Hopefully the rain will stay away.
Oh, have it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it that you encourage people to do, and who is it that you're trying to help?
At the core, it's an overwhelmed parent of a teenager, right? That's my number one, because that's who I was. That's who I connect and relate to most. But but you don't have to be going through a traumatic scenario in order to experience the value of what I refer to as the Living Adventurously method. When you live these five powerful practices, because some people they're happy, but they just know that there's more to life. There's more in them to give to the world. There's more in them and available for them to experience, and they just don't know how. And so that's that other part of what these practices bring into your experience of everyday life. And it just makes you feel more alive, and you have more confidence and more connected to yourself and others. And that's a spectrum of the people I'm looking to reach.
And so you've mentioned three. So you're
Yeah.
going to go into the last two.
Sure. So I brought up that they each have a specific outcome. The outcome for getting uncomfortable, the practice of getting uncomfortable, is trust. It instills in you a deeper level of trust, and of course, in yourself. And by an automatic default, because you can trust yourself, you're better able to trust others. And your confidence really soars. And it's a snowball effect. Exploring the unknown, the outcome is insight. And they're not accidental insights or random. They're directly connected to where you're headed in life and what you're working on, what you're pursuing. So these insights are almost like strategic insights from higher power or infinite intelligence, God, right? These insights are not accidental. And then seeking excitement, right? It just energizes your life. But there was a point a couple of years ago where I realized that I was in a coaching program with some really accomplished people. These are smart, bright, accomplished, successful people, but I noticed a pattern of people really struggling with allowing themselves to believe in this other possibility, or allowing themselves to receive, I'm not worthy. And we all have these conversations. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough, right? Every human on the planet has that conversation. Same one you're having, right? But it's until we allow ourselves to receive, believe, let go of that kind of anger or that trauma from the past, forgive, allow somebody to help us, allow ourselves to give grace. Say, I'm sorry. Say, you're right. I was wrong. Until we let go of those, whatever is binding us, we cannot move forward. Change will not happen until we allow ourselves. And that's a practice. These things can surface ongoing, whatever, and they can be different. And so the outcome for the practice of allowing is change. It's the catalyst for all change. Change will not occur until you begin to allow that possibility to happen. So that's the first one, because nothing happens, right? Until we allow ourselves to get uncomfortable, allow ourselves to get curious.
But again, we're so conditioned to resist
Right.
change. And it's funny, isn't it? Because it could be, so, I mean, I come from the fitness arena originally, right? So quarter of a century in the fitness industry, but people want to, it's the same thing with business. It's all the same thing. Whatever goal you have, it could be changing one thing. It doesn't mean they had to go and do a 2-hour long run. It could be one thing that could take, I don't know, 10 minutes, but doing it consistently, and people will still make up excuses. And I'm not going to lie, because I've done it myself. When I left the fitness industry, I struggled because I'd lost my accountability for a quarter of a century. For one, I suppose I was being paid to turn up, but it wasn't a consideration to consider not to do it. It was just, yeah, that's what I do. And all of a sudden losing that through choice. But I found it was very humbling, because I realized that, I'm making up excuses here, just like all my clients used to do. And how bizarre is it? And it's just so crazy that when we get into certain habit patterns, that, change, that's what people are resisting. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It's not the thing. It's the fact that it's like we want to just keep doing the same thing, but get a different result, which is a sign of a madman, isn't it?
That's the whole old joke, expecting and doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
But isn't that funny that we as human beings seem, maybe not everybody, but there seems to be this common thread that change is totally inevitable. We know that. There's nothing, everything is in a constant movement. Yet, again, what's going on, Andy? Why have we got to this place where we're just seem to be so resistant to change in and of itself?
I'm going to go back to the brain. Change is scary. There's unknown. The job of our brain is to keep us safe and alive. And as long as we're sitting here buckled down, safe and alive and existing, then we don't have to take on whatever may be on the other side of that change. Although if we thought about it, oh, wait a minute, there's so much opportunity available. I call it the what if syndrome. When I hear people talking out of fear, and they're going, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I don't make it? What if I don't? What if it's better than you ever imagined? Right? What if is a two-way street? What if it's better than you ever imagined? And people fail to really even consider that. They just get wrapped up in fear. People are like, yeah, that might not work. All of the most successful people on the planet, the people that you look up to, the people you admire, the people you read about, the people you watch, those people, I consider, I don't know how many people are watching me on TV, right, or any of that, but they're listening to us now, hopefully, and you gotta push past these things. That little barrier that's a big barrier. People talk about get comfortable getting uncomfortable. God, no, stop. No, don't get comfortable getting uncomfortable. Actually, just the opposite. Don't ever get comfortable. If you find yourself getting comfortable, take on something else.
Yeah.
I started to work on Spanish. We're going to Spain in the fall, my wife's birthday. I want to be able to speak the language at least a little bit, not just resort Spanish, like where's the bathroom? Get uncomfortable. I used to have a serious, can I share a quick story?
Yes, please do.
All right. It's on point, so it's relevant. I'm in 8th grade. I'm out there in the boat. I'm playing football, basketball, and running track. And I'm a 13-year-old boy, 8th grade. What I didn't think I'd be doing is singing in the school choir. And Miss Lanier is my math teacher, but she always also runs the choir. Somehow she convinces me to sing in the choir. For whatever reason, she winds up, much to my chagrin, giving me a love ballad duet role with Jenny Katz, who's not my girlfriend. If you think of yourself at 13 years old singing a love ballad with a girl who's not your girlfriend, whoa. And I refused to practice every choir practice. I was too embarrassed. She didn't let me off the hook the last practice before the big play. And I did. I knew my lines, and I'm happy to blend in comfortably. Not real comfortable with that, actually, but I'll do it if I'm with everybody else. It's a little more comfortable. The night comes. I've practiced once. Jenny's great. She can sing. And she's in the traveling theater, repertory theater, and Annie Get Your Gun and these other plays. The night comes. We're in the school gymnasium. It feels like the entire town has showed up for it. It's parents, grandparents, faculty. The lights go out. It's our turn to sing our love ballad. And she sings her part, I'm sure, fantastically. And then I got to sing my part. And I'll never forget it. I've got gray striped pants on, a pink shirt, and a vest. I think I had a bow tie on. Spotlight on her, spotlight on me. I used to think you were perfect, gentle and sweet and demure. But now I'm not so sure. Now I'm not so sure.
Wow.
I was a wreck. I was soaking wet, drenched in sweat. And that night, I swore I was never going to speak, much less sing, in front of anyone ever again. As I started to unpack this relationship to adventure, my wife kept asking me, what do I want for Christmas? I'm good, hon. I don't need anything. A week goes by, 2 weeks. What can I get you for Christmas? I'm good, babe. I don't need anything. Finally, it's getting close to Christmas. And she said, honey, you got to get you something for Christmas. What do you want? For whatever reason, I said, how about singing lessons? It wasn't to become a good singer. It was because I was unpack this message, this voice, and pull it out of me, give birth to it. And so for a month, I took singing lessons, and it really helped me give voice to this message in me. And I even did like open mic nights, and sometimes not in great areas of town.
You really put yourself in places.
Right. And I remember reading a free write as a practice to the book. And I read it. And in front of this crowd, turns out it's probably 200-300 plus people there. And I read it, spotlight on me. I'm just shaking like a leaf on a tree. But I had to go through that exercise, right? Because now when I get thank you notes from clients and I hear back when I speak with some people, they're so grateful. And I'm so grateful. Like I would have completely missed out on what I feel is God's purpose for my life. All of that fulfillment would have been gone. All of that giving of who I am to others and the message I have for others would have been completely shut down. And now it's my whole life.
So you nearly allowed the fear to stop you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can relate. I'm far from shy. All my life, I've just basically got paid to jump around a studio, having a lot of fun, really. That was just my thing. However, to get up and speak, oh my goodness, what a different thing. And I only did my first, it was over 3 years ago. It was before COVID. And I thought I'd be fine. And I have never, I can honestly say, I have never felt fear like it. I really wanted the fight, flight, freeze. Oh my goodness, I wanted to run out that door. Felt sick. I thought, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. But you're right. And I think that is the thing, is that because you've pushed through, and that probably wasn't the first, that obviously wasn't the first time,
Yeah.
it's having that awareness that you know it's going to be all right. You're feeling nervous, it's going to be okay at the end of it. And I think maybe, I suppose that so many people stay in the same job for so long. And again, it's all about the comfort zone, isn't it? They got too comfortable. So if they've left it too long before going and trying something new, then the fear is really quite overwhelming. I think just because of the kind of industry I went in, we were always learning something new. It was always some new class being released. Okay, we got to learn all the choreography of this. I put myself in those positions of feeling nervous and having that understanding of this is part of the process of learning everything. Really?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who's going to learn something new and who's not going to hit the wall of fear, which wants you to step back? And if you keep going and you're like, what was I worried about?
Yeah. I mean, nail on the head. That's exactly right. And that's why I call it's a practice. I remember kind of looking outside of myself for these solutions or answers to these questions that I had. And I was constantly let down or disappointed. It's because I was looking outside of me. What we're looking for and everything we need, we already have in us. The opportunity available is for us to unpack it and connect with us and live out of a connection, live from the inside out, not the outside in. And so as long as we're looking outside of ourselves for something or someone else to make us happy and fulfilled, we're gonna die that way. You're never gonna find it. There's someone else's job, and nobody else can do that for you. It's already in you. Live from the inside out with a relationship and a connection with who you really are. And sometimes that's the hardest part for a lot of people.
It's
Taking
a
an
belief
honest look with
system.
themselves.
It's a belief system, isn't it? We think that, because I suppose we put everything off as well. It's like, I'll be happy when I get that, it's put off. And then, you're basically giving your power away, aren't you?
100%.
Really, by saying,
Well,
I need that person in my life to make me happy.
Can't stand it. It's not you complete me. It's 100, 100. You show up.
I'm not half. I'm not a half.
I'm not a half. That's all right. You show up happy, healthy, and complete, ready to give of yourself in partnership to a partner. Not you need and they have to do. Man, if that's the case, we're really showing up cocked and loaded, full of expectation that we're just placing on the backs of whoever that person is.
Yeah,
that's
demanding.
Just unfair. It's unfair to them. They're going to fail you, particularly if you haven't conveyed all this expectation that you're placing on the backs of this person who you think you care about. Let's just talk about relationship. Right?
Yeah.
That's just not fair. And it's not, I used to do it with other speakers and so forth. I wanted all this knowledge and all this, what am I supposed to do? That's already in me. That was just not fair. So that whether it's relationship or in any other format, if we're not, even professional life, if we're not pushing ourselves professionally, I don't care if the corporate world, my wife does it. She just on Monday took on a new task, a new responsibility that she's never had before. And my whole family is self-employed, so I've never really had any knowledge of the corporate world culture until 13 years ago when we started dating. If you're so comfortable in your work, then I gotta believe you're not very good at it, because you should be growing, or you're just good enough. Right? Then you must just be good enough. Man, no wonder
We
you're
all
not
need to be stretched. We all need to be
right.
stretched. We all need to, otherwise it does get dull. And I think that's it. I had, when I was very young, I had just so many different jobs. And I think the only reason I stayed in the fitness industry for so long, because now looking back, I'm like, really? I was doing that for 25 years? But because I did so
Awesome.
many different things, I'm
Yeah.
probably a little bit ADHD anyway. So that suits me. Otherwise, I'd get bored. I would have got bored and left the job. But because I did such a wide range of things, so I was constantly learning, it kept me engaged, it kept me involved. Nothing ever stayed the same. There was always something new to learn. Every 3 months, you get new choreography for all the different programs that you teach. So it caught me. And so, yeah, I did stick at it for 25 years. But I suppose, yeah, if
And
you've
that's
been
great.
in the same job, oh man, that would have driven me insane, because
Yeah.
life is all about trying different things. You don't have to love it all, but
Yeah.
how do you know until you try? The
And
only
I
reason I got
remember,
a motorbike was because it was my daughter who, she was just turning 17. So over here, I don't know what the rules are over there. So when they're 17, they can get a provisional driving license. And she came to me and said, actually, I'd quite like to ride a bike. And my
so great.
instant reaction was, oh my God, no, that's too dangerous. And then I was like, oh, actually, I might do it with you.
Yeah.
I haven't ridden a
Love it.
bike since
Yeah.
my 20s, the last time I rode a trials bike. But she stopped. She's not doing it. She
But
did
you
it. She
are.
enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm
But now
loving
you
it.
are. That's great.
But there you go. But she tried it. I was so
Great.
proud of her. She did really well. She got through her first thing. She tried it and made the decision that, okay, it's not the right thing for her, but at least she gave it a go.
Perfect.
Because isn't this, how do we know until you're not everything that you do, but
Oh, you
if
gotta
you don't give it a go.
you gotta explore a little bit. And I don't mean to come down hard on anybody that's really consistent in their work and really diligent and consistent and reliable. That's not what I'm talking about. If you are happy and fulfilled doing whatever it is, great. I believe that all people, it doesn't have to, whenever I'm talking about any of this, it does not have to be this grandiose distinction, right? Everything I'm referring to can be very simple, very small, little changes that are a different route to work, try a different food, maybe go try a restaurant that's out in the country that you've never been to before. Take a drive, turn on the music, and you roll the windows down, and go get lost with the kids. All right, kids, what you want to go left or right? Choice is yours. Go play. That's just a
What
different life. And I think
what
that
I'm
all people have
hearing,
brilliance inside of them.
from that is actually, because we are, like we talked about the conditioning, right? Because we are so conditioned to do things. So we've really got, and I get it, our bodies like to save energy. Really, our bodies are quite lazy.
Sure.
They want to save energy. So if they could do a repetitive task and you just go on autopilot. So really what I'm getting from what you're sharing there is we need to be a little bit more present. We need to be, so doing something different where you do have to think, right, where have we got to go? Rather than going through life on autopilot,
Yeah.
that doesn't lead to a happy existence. But trying something new, which means you've got to be aware in the present moment. You've got to be, because on autopilot, you can be going over past conversations, creating
Right.
stories in your head about future conversations, which
Right.
is even crazier. Whereas what I'm getting from what you're sharing here is, yeah, it doesn't have to be riding a motorbike. It doesn't have to be going
No.
sailing. It could be purely going for a walk in a park that you've never been before or whatever.
Yeah.
And that simple thing, what that's doing, if you think about it, is, yeah, it's
Yeah.
bringing you into the present moment
Yeah.
and taking you out of the program.
That's
We need
right.
to get out the matrix. We need
That's
to get out.
100%. Today, we're hearing more and more about the value of mindset, awareness, intention. And these are all great ideas. They're great concepts. Simon Sinek talks about know your why with his corporate talks and so forth. I knew my why, right? I knew my who, but I didn't know how am I going to rebuild out of this shell of a man, right? And adventure is what I found to be my route. My wife hated that I rode a motorcycle, but she loved the way I came home, right? I was wholly available. I got to feed me, right? And now I'm just I feel more alive. I've had a kind of reconnected that little boyish sense of adventure inside of me. And I felt better. And so,
Maybe
go ahead.
Maybe that's part of it. Is you just said there about we get too serious, don't we?
Yeah,
It's like
particularly in
we're
the US.
expected. Oh man, don't kid yourself. It's still. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it needs to be a
Everything's
little
too
bit more
serious.
like Australia. They're not that serious in Australia, I don't feel.
Yeah, chill, man.
Yeah, New Zealanders, Irish,
Don't
Scots.
take life so seriously. Stop
Relax a little
taking
bit.
life so
My God.
seriously.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's
that's
nothing
right.
wrong with being a kid. Play. Again,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying, that you're connected to the boy
And
inside
play
you.
can look like
Why?
anything.
Yeah.
Play can be, right? There's a book by Diane Ackerman called Deep Play. And I originally met her work through Tom Morris, who's a modern day philosopher, PhD philosopher from Yale. He's written over 30 books, best-selling author. He's an advisor to CEOs around the world, keynote speaker around the world, sharp guy. I met his work through when I was Google searching adventure over 5 years ago. He wrote this piece called The Adventurous Mind. And I really connected with it. Turns out he's on the cover of my book now. And he wrote blurbs in support of the book. I reached out to him on LinkedIn. You never know how things are going to go. But he references Deep Play by Diane Ackerman. And I started to read her book as well. And she talks about how that fills the human spirit and how it impacts and what it can look like. And she's been a passionate observer of play in creatures and out in the world and in human behavior. And it's critical. It feeds us. And so that's definitely a big piece of all of it.
It sounds like you said earlier on about the balance. We stop taking yourself so seriously, have moments where there is a bit of play. You've got to have fun. You've got to laughter, and go and do something different. So it doesn't have to be jumping out of a plane, although I wouldn't mind. I've done a bungee, but I do want to jump out of a plane.
I'm the opposite. I have not done either, but I would jump out of a plane. I probably would not bungee.
So it just seems, we need that balance. Yes, there's a time to be serious and time to be focused. However, and I didn't know that about Lewis Hamilton, because that's really interesting. But again, I get it. It makes so much sense.
Yeah,
thank you. Because we can just get caught up worrying and stressing about something. So go and distract, do something exciting, and then come in and you're all refreshed and you're ready to go. And so really, again, what I'm taking from that is really because I suppose we can be control freaks. We think we're in control when actually we're not. No. We have an innate intelligence within us. Yeah. So maybe also what's going on is by doing that thing where you're not in your head and you've got to focus on something, doing something exciting, you're practicing that being, and you're trusting that then when you do go and do the work, you didn't need to be trying to remember to do stuff or focus on. Trust that you will do it. You will do a good job.
That you can, and that you'll be okay.
Yeah.
That's why every time you overcome, so going back to getting uncomfortable, right? As the third practice, every time, which is kind of a linchpin piece of it all. Nothing happens until we allow it. The second is practices gratitude. The outcome of gratitude is positivity. Everybody thinks it's irrefutable, the value of being intentional about practicing gratitude. And that doesn't mean I'm already an appreciative person, but actually being intentional about being present to all we're grateful for, no matter how simple. That's the second practice. But that third practice of getting uncomfortable is in the work of these 5 practices and the Living Adventurously method, where you really establish that deeper level of trust in yourself, and you win every single time you do it. Every single time there's something uncomfortable that's forcing you to, like, pushing back on you, man, if it's uncomfortable, quite the opposite, that's the thing you need to be doing.
Yeah.
If it makes you,
Yeah.
now, I'm not talking about when you have that notion that something's not right, that's different. But getting uncomfortable and you know that it's something that you're like, that's what you should be doing. If it doesn't make you a little bit nervous, then
Yeah, it's too easy.
yeah.
But
But
I
yeah,
suppose again we want what we perceive as the short route.
and that's
So
never
we
going to help us win.
go for the easy, but it's never going to have a good outcome. So you've written this book, and what is it? Is it the same? What's the name of the book?
It's called Always Adventure: 5 Powerful Practices for Living a Happier, More Fulfilling Life.
Awesome. And
Always
so
Adventure.
to the listeners, if they can't see your blurb underneath here and the links, if they're just listening in, how do they get hold of that? Where do they find
It's
you?
available on Amazon, and there's an ebook, there's a paperback, and then there's a hardback as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So is
it's
that
available
what you're
on-
looking to promote? And what is your website for the listeners?
Yeah, Andy Way Official. You just go to andywayofficial.com, and there's a link for the book there, or they can just go straight to Amazon. And of course, anybody can reach out to me anytime.
Fantastic. So what's going to be, other than, unless it's raining and you're not going out on your bike, what's your next big adventure then?
Yeah, I touched on it briefly, but I find it quite interesting that this boy who grew up on this island of 2,000 people and the intercoastal waterway of Savannah, Georgia, I have a meeting on Friday to possibly give a TEDx talk in Switzerland, and this town that is the adventure playground for the wealthy. And so how do you give somebody who seems to have it all? They have means, but what might they be missing? And I think a lot of people struggle with feeling unhappy or not good enough or not enough, even though they have all this money or they're not fulfilled. All right. So money didn't make them happy. Going back to outside of you can't fill you. It's got to come from the inside out. We have a meeting about me possibly giving that talk there, the TEDx talk, and that's on Friday. And if I get invited to give that, which is very exciting, and I love that kind of juxtaposition between where I grew up and giving this conversation, this talk to that community there in Switzerland in August.
Wonderful.
It would be the end of August. That'd be really exciting.
Fantastic. And how nervous will you be before getting up on stage then in front of them?
A friend of mine said, or somebody is teaching a course, part of the book writing program. She said, she was ahead of me and she was coming back and she said, if you're overly nervous, everybody gets nervous. Elvis talked about how he was nervous before every show he ever did his whole life. You're going to get nervous before a race. I'm sure Lewis Hamilton gets nervous. But if you're like overwhelmingly nervous, it means one of two things. You're either underprepared or you think it's about you. It's not about you, right? My job is to be ready, and I'll be ready. And then that little gift right there, I think that will help me be healthy, nervous, and excited versus shut down.
But you know that you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can remember that feeling of, and then the moment I was up there, it just, and I suppose we've got to remember that is just part of it, and it's okay.
However I show up is okay. I will be okay. And I know that I'm good enough and I'm enough and I'm right. And I'm worthy to be there. And I'm just trying to give of myself to the world. And how they receive it is a reflection of them, not me.
Love that.
Right?
And that is just so true, because why is it we put so much pressure on ourselves? You're never
It's
going
the
to get it.
meaning
It's
we
never
make
going to be
up, right?
perfect. It's
Right.
never going to be perfect. It's like so many people, they laugh at me, we've even this, because I'm like, oh no, we don't edit. No, I download it and off it goes. That's good is good enough. All this striving to be perfect. There's no
And
such
there's no
thing. You're
such
never going to get
thing.
there.
Yeah.
And it's done. And we've moved on to why do we put so much
It's the
pressure
meaning
on
we give it,
ourselves?
right? Like the
Yeah.
meaning we make up about whatever, and even that's untrue. It's the what if conversation. What if I fail? It means I'll learn a lot.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
if I fail,
If
it
you,
doesn't mean I'm not good or I'm not a good person. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means I'm learning and growing.
absolutely. I've failed a ton of times.
Yeah.
Come on, find somebody who's just gone shoop to success without any failures. I challenge. There's a challenge. Is
That's
there
right.
anybody out there who's never
Perfectly,
failed?
no.
Yeah, perfect. Shoop.
No, doesn't.
No.
Love it.
And it would be so boring anyway. You wouldn't appreciate anything.
No, you
You know,
wouldn't, and you'd take a lot for granted. Yeah, and you wouldn't be able to relate to people.
yeah,
There's
and
so
that's
much
it, I suppose. It's more you're an inspiration. Look, because like you say, you're dealing with the parents of teenagers, right? There is so much of that going on, right? And I suppose in our own little world, as you think it's only me. What have I done wrong? It's no, there's so many people out there going through the same thing. And I suppose that's what it's all about by you sharing your story
Yeah.
is if anybody's out there that is going through it, yes, it's tough, but you're okay and you're not the only one and you will come through it.
You got to believe that. And I know that the hard part when we're specifically referring to parenting is we love them so much. We love our kids so much and we want only the best for them. And as caregivers, right, we just pour everything out. Like it's so emotional. It's just so much of our heart that we're pouring out into those that we're caring for. If we didn't care for them, we wouldn't really do it. Right? We have enough to do. But because we love them so much and it's emotional, it's hard, we forget to take care of ourselves. And we really have to allow ourselves to feed us. And that's okay. Allow yourself to step away and practice these practices so that you can have more of you available. Like those
Right.
who love shouldn't get the remaining balance of all of our emotional energy
Yes.
and time and energy.
I always think that it's almost the word people might go, oh, that's a bit selfish of you going off and having an adventure. And it's this word, selfish, has been given a negative connotation. But actually, everybody should be maybe a little bit more selfish. If you would stop worrying about everybody else and focused on yourself, everybody probably would be a lot happier. Yeah, but it's got this negative, hasn't it? People think the way they talk about, oh, you're being selfish. No, actually, taking time out for self-care is actually the best thing that I can do for actually my family.
Yeah, for those I love and care about. And they're really just my community around me. How many times do you find yourself in a random conversation that you just didn't expect? For me, I embrace that opportunity as often as possible, and I'm listening.
Absolutely, that's where magic happens. That's where magic happens.
And you wind up
we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's right.
If we had just a random reach out on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time today. I'm not really that jealous that you're now going to go out on the bike. I haven't, because it's been winter. I haven't been out, and now I might now feel nervous about going out on it now because it's been so long. So I really appreciate your time today. Great conversation and loving what you do. So guys, reach out, andywayofficial.com. Go grab the book. And otherwise, to everybody else, I will be back on Thursday with a coffee with Karen. Bye for now.
Thanks so much.
Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.